Hi golfers, Nick here for Nick Tally Golf. It's Friday, so welcome to another lesson on golf tips. This week on golf tips, we're going to take a look at the stack and tilt golf swing from the rear view camera. It's not a common viewpoint looked at the golf swing, but I think it's so important. It's going to really help you guys understand this golf swing in a lot more detail. How the body moves in terms of the hips, how the arms move. When you look at it from the rear view camera, it's a very different angle than that's normally used. You're normally viewing the swing from the side view and from the front view. Well, in today's video, we're going to take a look at the golf swing from the front and the rear view at the same time, just to give you guys a little bit more in-depth look at the stack and tilt golf swing. So we can take a look at the golf swing here from both viewpoints. So we've got the camera set up from the front view and the camera set up behind me. We're going to take a look at some key positions in the golf swing that you wouldn't normally see from just one viewpoint. So we're going to be looking at how the hips move, how they tilt and turn in the golf swing. We're going to be looking at the elbow positions in the backswing and the follow through that you can't quite see from the face on camera. So first of all, let's just take a normal shot, normal sort of stack and tilt golf swing. We're going to look at the swing in more detail in a second. So that's kind of like a standard shot for me, just a little push draw. So I started out to the right and just drew back in towards the target. That's the standard shot for the stack and tilt golf swing. And the reason why it's a standard shot is because of the way we set up to the golf swing and we use the grid. You may have seen some videos talking about the grid. This is the grid set up here. And you'll see from both viewpoints here, I have the ball here behind my left shoulder. And you'll see how I have the handle forward. So as I set up, my feet are turned out, handles forward. My centers of my hips and my shoulders are stacked slightly to the left. So I have the ball just inside of my left heel here, about 3 balls behind my left shoulder, handles forward, my centers are stacked forward, my feet are turned out. And you can see here, this would be kind of my standard setup for the stack and tilt golf swing. My standard setup here for a push draw, where the ball's behind the swing center of my left shoulder. So in the golf swing, the hands in the club move inwards behind me, and then back inwards on the follow through, and that's staying on the grid, if you like. From this position here, we're going to start to look at the movements in the golf swing. Now, if you pay attention from the camera here behind me, take a look at this belt loop here. It's kind of in the center of my hips here. Now, if you look at that belt loop, as I start to swing back, that belt loop actually moves towards the target because I'm tilting my hips here on an angle, and when you turn and tilt on an angle, it actually moves that center towards the target. So that's why the average tour player actually moves the center of their hips around 4 inches towards the target in the backswing. So a lot of golfers are told to shift their weight in their golf swing and to sort of move behind the golf ball, whereas the best players actually, they tilt their hips and turn them on an angle and actually move the center of their hips towards the target. And you can see also that my right hip here is higher than my left. That's because of the way I've tilted and extended my right leg. So as I'm turning here, I'm straightening my right leg, and that tilts my belt here to the left in the backswing, similar to how I tilt my shoulders. Also, you'll see how my right armpit here is tucked into my chest, so I'm not lifting up in the golf swing, I'm staying connected. So you can see this right elbow here is bent roughly 90 degrees. My arms against my chest here, staying connected. So in the backswing, I tilt my shoulders, but I'm also tilting my hips and moving the center of my hips towards the target, and that's just the way I'm turning. I'm not deliberately forcing it that way. That's just the way you turn in a centered point of view. You take a look at both cameras here, you can see how I'm staying very centered in my golf swing from both viewpoints, but the center of my hips are moving towards the target. From the top of the backswing here, as I start to move down into the downswing, you'll see the whole time that my right leg here always moves towards the target. So I don't never break the imaginary line here on my right leg at all at any stage. I turn inside it, and then I continually move towards the target, and you can see that from both viewpoints. So as I'm turning in the downswing and moving my body weight to the left, what you'll notice is the center of my hips now actually moves a little bit further back as I start down. Yet I'm moving this way towards the target, and this is the important thing to understand here. The way the hips turn
is causing this center here to actually move towards the target in the backswing. Then it actually starts to move more backwards, but at the same time I'm pushing forward towards the target. That's why when we use the motion sensors here at GOLFTEC, you may have seen some videos talking about the sway of the hips. The sway of the hips is more towards in the backswing than it is at impact, and that's just because of the way we're turning as well in the golf swing. So in the backswing we had the left tilt with the hips. By the time I get down to probably position 6 here, it's kind of gone back to almost a 0 tilt with my belt line here. But as I start to hit the golf ball, you'll start to see as I straighten my legs and push up off the ground, I'm actually starting to tilt my hips more to the left as I move my center of my hips forward. From setup to impact, my hips are pushed forward and the belt now is starting to tilt to the right. So in the backswing I tilted to the left. Now impact here I'm starting to tilt to the right, and you can see how the whole time I'm moving my body weight towards the target. That helps me move the low point further forward. It helps me swing into out, helps me compress the golf ball and hit it a long way, which is kind of what we're trying to do in the stack and tilt golf swing. We're trying to make good contact, create power and control the curve of the golf ball. So by moving my hips forward, that helps me shallow out the angle of attack, but also helps with the contact, the swing path and the power. So by the time I hit the golf ball here, you can see how I'm pushing forward and starting to tilt my hips to the right. We've talked about how the shoulders tilt to the right a lot, but you can see this from the behind camera here of my belt, how my hips start to tilt to the right at impact. So let's hit one more. So you see on the finish here, how from the behind camera here, how this elbow is now bent 90 degrees. In the backswing, the right elbow is about 90. In the finish, the left elbow is bent around 90 degrees. And you see again how I'm keeping this pressure point under my arm. So you see in the backswing I tilt to the left with my hips and my shoulders, and I start to level that out, start to tilt to the right, continually tilt to the right, then it starts to level out a little bit by the time I get to the finish. So I thought this was quite a good viewpoint here to see how the body moves from both camera angles. It's not something that you see quite a lot, but you can clearly see here how the hips tilt, the center moves forward in the backswing. As I start to move into impact, even though I'm pushing my weight forward, that center now is starting to move more back to where it was at setup, but still slightly forward from setup. Even though if I just turn my hips on the way down, you see this would move back. But that's not the case. At impact, it's actually about an inch further forward from where it was at setup. And then I continually move towards the target. So that just gives you an idea there of how the body moves from both viewpoints. I think it's a really interesting thing to look at when you're looking at the golf swing. So thanks for watching golf. A slightly different viewpoint there, looking at the stack and tilt golf swing. From the rear view, I think it's quite clear there. You can see how the body moves, and it's a viewpoint that sort of just highlights especially how those hips move in the golf swing and how the arms stay very connected throughout. So if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to find out a little bit more about the stack and tilt golf swing, check out this playlist, and I'll see you again next week for another video.